Hey everyone, Miv here, and welcome back to my Completionist, Purist, and insane playthrough of Icewind Dale. Today we'll have a more chill episode, a little breather before the next set of battles. We will wrap things up here in Easthaven and progress the main storyline to its next phase, as it is high time for Hrothgar's expedition to commence. And first let's take a look at the note we got from the ogre leader of the evildoers we defeated last episode. It is a contract of sorts with a message to Balin, presumably the caravan manager, from Ilmus Galway of Caer Dineval. We've heard of Ilmus from Gaspar, and we will learn a little bit more about his trading coster in the expansion, as well as meet his granddaughter in Icewind Dale 2. But anyway, the message speaks of some transactions Balin was supposed to make in Easthaven, like selling some goods and making sure to get a fair price from that unscrupulous Kalashite weasel Pomab, as well as buying some scrimshaw from Gaspar. So here again we see Pomab enjoying a stellar reputation, being well liked by everybody, and of course there are numerous hints pointing to Gaspar as to whom we should deliver this note to. Not to mention the fact that we have already spoken with him about this very caravan. We know he was expecting it, and so would likely want to know what happened to it in the end. And then finally we have some words of caution for Balin. Keep your eyes to the tundra. There have been reports of orcs in the hills outside of Easthaven. It might be wise to use your advance payment to hire on some extra caravan guards. So perhaps Balin tried to be a little too greedy and maybe skimped out on hiring some extra protection, but maybe he did have some extra guards, but unfortunately that still wasn't enough to save the caravan. But anyway, now I'd like to direct your attention to the fact that I have reorganized the inventories of our party members, trying to utilize their carrying capacity better, and to sort our loot to be sold in bulk once we get back to Easthaven. I also wanted to empty the inventories of Brey and Galburin as much as possible, because they are our strongest party members with the highest carrying capacity, and we are going to end up picking up some more stuff before we leave this cave. Especially Brey is relevant here because she doesn't have any heavy equipment of her own, unlike Galburin, who is already carrying his splint mail, large shield and all that. Also to that effect, we are utilizing the quivers of Asathi and Iris to carry some ammunition that cluttered the inventories of Brey and Galburin. Then we also have this separately stored Morningstar that we are not going to sell because this is going to be the starting weapon for Rhyntar in the next chapter, and Rhyntar himself has confiscated one shortbow, and we will talk more about that later. So yes, now as we make our way back through this cave, we are going to end up picking up some of these battle axes after all, for a few more gold coins, which brings me to yet another difference between the Enhanced Edition and the classic version of this game, and that is the fact that we are getting less gold from adventuring here in our game. You might have noticed the orcs in the last episode all dropped a set amount of gold, just 6 gold pieces, and that's their guaranteed amount, but normally there's also a bonus roll from 0 to 10 that would be added to make the final amount they drop. So in the classic Icewind Dale, you'd often see double-digit amounts when looting these guys. And not all creatures drop gold in that way, some just have a static value assigned to them, but a lot of them do, and that's also the case for a lot of containers. 2 great examples of which are in this very cave. You might remember that in this random loot chest, we retrieved 20 gold from it, but normally there's a bonus roll of up to 50 in there. So even with an average roll of that bonus, you can usually retrieve around 40-50 gold from there. And then we have the final chest that for us only contained 14 gold pieces, but normally it also has a bonus roll of up to 70. So sometimes when you get lucky, you can get a hefty amount of gold from there. And unfortunately, those bonus rolls just simply don't work on the Enhanced Edition versions of this game. And whether that's intentional design or some kind of oversight, I don't know, but it is a fact that we are going to have to deal with, and it's yet another incentive to be frugal. To be frugal, indeed. Let's pick one more axe on Brey, and now we can continue with Galburin. Also, another pertinent difference worth mentioning here, I think, is related to Entangle. Okay, here we are a little encumbered, but I think with this switch we are going to be fine. So yes, of course, Entangle normally isn't a greatly attractive spell to memorize here to begin with, due to the large presence of archers, which discourages that kind of selection if you're not going for some kind of kiting heavy tactics. But especially so in the Enhanced Edition, because in the Classic you could still get some value out of it in that final encounter with the ogres. However, here in the Enhanced Edition, large creatures have a blanket immunity to the effects of Entangle and Web, and ogres belong to that group, so they wouldn't be stopped by that spell. But anyway, now let's just get back to Easthaven and start finalizing our business here. First we're going to visit Pomab's place to sell most of our loot and raise some funds for our final visit to the Temple of Tempest. So yes, we can sell all of this stuff. Alright, 16 more gold pieces. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, the bows, of course, we are going to sell at the temple for a better price. And also, one more thing, we are going to sell the fire dagger. There's no point in waiting for just a slightly better price until chapter 3. We need the funds right now, as you will see, but I think I skipped selling the high quality dagger because we are going to be able to sell it for 5 gold instead of just 4. So here I shall make the effort to be more frugal. But anyway, from here let's just go west and then visit a couple places along the way. First one of which is going to be the fishmonger Gaspar, that we already talked quite a bit about this episode. He is going to have a slightly different greeting for us now that we have returned his son to him safely, with his catch no less. So of course it was nothing. Rhyntar would have done that no matter the incentives. But yes, we can now inform him about the fate of the caravan, that it just didn't make it. No point in trying to wait and expect it anymore. And here we still have this conversation option that, you know, is enabled when you step over that ground trigger outside of the cave, and we could still use it, even though of course we have progressed further and we know more about it. And then on a subsequent conversation with Gaspar, we could then give him the note. But let's just cut to the chase, and it makes more sense to give him the note already. And I'm just going to show the screenshot of how he reacts to that other conversation option. But yeah, despite the shipment being intact, supposedly, and kind of ready to be retrieved, he is going to be under the impression that he has to negotiate a new contract immediately, so that a new caravan can arrive in Easthaven before the snows hit with some supplies. But anyway, he is going to reward us with 25 gold, and we are going to get that 1200 experience I mentioned in the last episode as that bonus amount, that other thing, because I didn't want to spoil that note. But yeah, it is a nice additional reward for exploring the cave in its entirety. But now, as a result of that experience, Sir Rhyntar has leveled up, and I've been dreading this level up quite a bit, because our history with HP rolls hasn't been quite so nice so far, aside from that anomaly that Asathi experienced. But of course, Rhyntar is the character for whom HP matters the most. He is our main frontliner, our decoy, and this can make or break him as a character. So he's going to roll from 1 to 10 hit points, and let's see. Let's see what the game gives us. No point in delaying that any further. Let's go. All right, that is a solid amount. I'm going to take that 7 any day. That's some weight off my shoulders, because this level up is crucial. In general, these few first level ups are crucial, because of course if you get a bad HP roll at like level 7 or something, it won't matter that much at that point. But these early level ups really are important, because of course we are trying to build up a health pool on Rhyntar. Also, his Thaco is going to be improved by 1 every level up as a warrior class. He is also going to improve his Lay on Hands healing. It starts out pretty weak, but it does grow into a decent heal. So, yeah, really satisfied with that level up. And now we can also say hi to Damien as well, who is going to express his gratitude once again to us. And now we can leave to the next place, which is going to be Hrothgar's home, and then there we will have a few things to finalize as well. And before we report our success to him with that caravan quest, let's tackle another subject. Because, of course, Rhyntar has this short bow he took because he had a stern conversation with Brey about her sticky fingers and conveyed his disapproval for such behavior. And, of course, considering how good of a lad Hrothgar is, he is well liked by our whole party, Brey will display some remorse for what she did and return the bow she took. The exact bow, because I'm a dork like that, so this one she essentially borrowed from Hrothgar up until now, and also we cannot forget about the 20 arrows that he had in that container. So now we're going to close it, and it is as if nothing happened. No thieves in our midst, I'm most happy to say. Only Brey, a very innocent young lady, surely not a formidable burglar of any kind. And now she can get a new bow from Rhyntar. This one is legit. This one we just claimed from the orcs in the cave, and we can continue using that one. Because of course we don't want to steal from Hrothgar. I mean, through him I feel the spirit of none other than Gorion watching over us in Icewind Dale. And that's of course because it's the same actor voicing him, Jim Cummings, who actually did a lot of voices in Baldur's Gate, and he actually voices another prominent character here in Icewind Dale that we will meet later. But yeah, I feel he's one moment away from telling us to go to the Friendly Arm Inn if we ever get separated. Don't worry, I will explain everything as soon as there is time. But anyway, let's stop messing around and finally report our success to Hrothgar.
Oh, good, you've returned. What news of the caravan from Caer Dineval?
I came across the caravan just outside of town. It looked as if it had been attacked some time ago by orcs. I tracked the orcs to a nearby cave and paid them back for their butchery. The caravan's supplies are safe within the cave.
Strange. It is not usual for orcs to be so brazen as to attack caravans so close to town. I wonder if it is the anticipation of the coming winter that is driving their actions, or if it is something more.
And yes, another ominous hint of things not being as they usually are at this time of year.
In any case, at least we can still retrieve the supplies, thanks to you. You've proven yourself to be quite capable. I'm glad you've decided to come along with us to Kuldahar.
Thank you, Hrothgar. When do we leave?
We still have preparations to make before we can depart for Kuldahar. Take this list of supplies to Pomarb's Emporium across town. While you're there, you might outfit yourselves with whatever gear you think you may need. Return here when you are packed and ready to go.
Very well. I shall return shortly. And of course you might have noticed that we got that juicy 2400 experience for the best outcome of this quest. And as a result, we have quite a few level ups to deal with now. Brey, Iris, and Nadimastria all leveled up. So let's get to it. And here, Brey being a multi-class allows me to explain how hit point rolls work on multi-classes. Basically, she is going to roll from the amount appropriate to the class she leveled in. And so here, with her Thief level up, she is going to roll a 1d6 hit die. However, the final roll she gets will be split and be divided by the amount of classes she has. So with only 2 classes, the maths are simple in this case. So on rolls 1, 2, and 3, she is only going to get one hit point, because on decimals, the amount gets rounded down unless it's a value lower than 1, in which case it gets brought up to be 1. So she essentially has a 50% chance of getting 1 hit point from this level up. Then on rolls of 4 and 5, she is going to get 2 hit points, and only on a roll of 6 will she get all 3 hit points. So here, of course, we are expecting a measly increase, probably of 1. That's not going to be outrageous. Well, actually got 2, slightly better than expected here. And of course, we have the 25 Thief skill points to allocate somewhere. And here I'd like to make a broader comment on progressing Thief skills in general, because the usual utility of opening locks and disarming traps isn't as much of a priority in Icewind Dale, because the skill requirements for locks and traps especially start out at pretty low values and gradually increase as the game goes on. And this gives us a chance to focus on some other skills, and I'd like to briefly discuss those options. Although, one last thing about opening locks, there is one chest accessible early on that can be opened with a high lockpicking skill before we get a key for it eventually. but its contents, in my opinion, just aren't good enough at all to specifically rush this skill. And since Icewind Dale is a linear game, we can't skip to some valuable locked containers with amazing treasures located somewhere else. I think because Brey doesn't have any big priorities when it comes to skills anyway, we are probably going to end up doing that more or less, but generally there are more attractive options to spend some points here and there. So as for these other skills, when it comes to pickpocketing, of course we have Iris and we have certain plans for her, but if it's your thief that's going to be conducting those those pickpocketing sessions, then it might be valid to put some points into pickpocketing. To be able to do that main stealing session, especially that much earlier, before some pickpocketing supplies become available that boost that skill. And of course, the earlier we get a couple of those notable items, the better. However, the downside of investing some hard points into pickpocketing is that later on they are not going to be too useful, because after that main stealing session, there are a few things that you can still pickpocket, but they are far, far less important. There's nothing spectacular afterwards. Then we have Stealth, which, as we've talked about in the previous episode, that got broken into two skills, Move Silently and Hide in Shadows, which necessitates a heavy investment in order to make a difference. And especially for a character like Brey, who is not going to utilize backstabbing until later, this is, again, not a priority either. Of course, stealth does retain some utility. You can scout around and you can trigger some events while being in stealth, but on the other hand, it can also be substituted by invisibility that we will gain access to in the future. So, yet again, not an important set of skills here. And then we have the two Enhanced Edition skills, Detect Illusion and Set Traps, that we are not going to invest any points in. And of those two, of course, Set Traps can be incredibly powerful here in Icewind Dale, and for some kind of min-maxing approach, that would be one of the priorities for sure. But in the next chapter, you will see that the traps in this game start out at like really low requirements to detect and disarm them, so we might as well put the whole 25 into open locks, and perhaps we will also spend some points here and there into stealth, just to give Brey that kind of option to sometimes stealth around more reliably. All right, now Iris, she is going to advance already into level 3 of her Bard class. And of course, that's going to involve a couple of static increases, the most notable of which is going to be unlocking a new song. Even though this one is very, very situational and it's not going to play a role until much later, this one gives us an immunity to fear effects and also dispels fear effects already affecting our party members. So anyway, she is going to roll a 1d6 hit die and hopefully do better than last time when she just got 1 hit point. So, well let's see. All right, twice in a row, I guess. Getting that win, 1 hit point, that's her favorite amount, I guess. Jeez, okay, let's try to not linger on that for too long. So of course her static increases here are going to involve 5 more pickpocketing. Her Thaco is going to increase, which doesn't matter right now, but she is going to build up a better Thaco over time for some changes in her conduct in combat much later in the game. Then she will unlock another level 1 spell memorization slot, so she will be able to cast Sleep twice, and she increases her lore by 10. All right, well, so now she's level 3 with 8 hit points. Love it. All right, let's not dwell on that. Let's move on. Now, Nadimastria will finally advance to level 2. She will actually get from 3 to 6 hit points because she rolls from a 1d4 hit die as a mage, but having to have that 16 constitution in order to be an invoker, she gets a +2 hit point bonus on each of those level ups. So from 3 to 6 here, let's see how she does. All right, 4, not the worst. The most important increase for her abilities here is, of course, that additional spell memorization slot, also for level 1. That will allow her to use 1 more color spray in some of the upcoming encounters. Let's memorize those spells already, and now we can leave. Actually, a little bonus here, an additional voice line by Hrothgar that I would like us to listen to.
Oh there, friend. Everything is nearly in order. We shall be departing for Kuldahar soon. I suggest you get that supply list over to Pomar before he starts whining. Testy little fellow, that one.
I like that. Testy little fellow. Alright, back to the episode. And do the next thing in our plans, which is to make our final visit to the temple. And we're going to have a few things to talk about there, because there are more services in a temple than just the bartering, the trading menu. For some reason I neglected to discuss those other options, but...
Your journey has brought you to this temple again. What is it you want?
Now we will make up for that. Yeah, so of course, besides the buy and sell menu, the trading of the typical clerical goods here that we can get in the temples, we also have the clerical services. It's just named healing, but there's much more than just healing here. We can get various types of cures here, like remove curse or cure disease and whatnot, and we can also resurrect our fallen party members. And then there's the identification menu that allows us to pay for having some of our items identified. And then we also have this tab for donations, which actually wasn't here in Icewind Dale, the classic version. There was no ability to make a donation because this mechanic is related to reputation, and that kind of reputation system is another unused mechanic in Icewind Dale. I mean, it's still present, but in a very limited capacity. The game was clearly not designed with that kind of system in mind. The only consequences of it are the negative ones, meaning that we can lose reputation, and if it drops too low, we will suffer increased store prices when buying goods, and classes like the Paladin or Ranger can fall and lose their abilities as a result. And that's basically it, since there are no benefits to be gained through this mechanic, or any conversations or events that depend on it. Right now we have a starting reputation of 12, but there are no ways to increase it beyond that value. And that's because there are no reputation rewards for quests or good deeds, and donations, only introduced by the Enhanced Edition, can only bring it up to 8, so that in case you ruin your rep by doing evil deeds, you can somewhat restore it to have acceptable prices. And the lack of the donation panel in the original Icewind Dale most likely explains why you can't receive any rumors when donating. Such thing was just not implemented, and the Enhanced Edition didn't do anything more with it. But here we are going to use this opportunity to pay our respects to Tempest, who granted us his favor and deemed us worthy of victory against the Orcish raiders in their hideout. And let us hope we can continue to be in his good graces in the future. We're definitely going to need it. By making this humble donation of, let's say, 50 gold. This, of course, will do nothing in gameplay mechanics terms. It's just yet another gold amount wasted, I guess, or lost for that RP value, man. But yes, normally you would be able to get some rumors from this tab, but not here. Anyway, now let us sell those short bows. As you can see, we can get 9 gold instead of 6 for all of them here. And here we will have some purchases to do. I think it's going to be warranted to buy this Raise Dead scroll. It will allow Galburin to raise a dead party member of ours if something unfortunate happens to them. And of course we are going to have some battles coming up, and that kind of possibility is there for us. It will still be with us, that being on the brink of death kind of situation. This scroll is never going to be as cheap as it is, so even if we don't have to use it, it's still going to be a nice backup to have. Already have kind of secured in our scroll case, so I think it is a decent idea to pick it up here, and then we can get a few more healing potions, let's say 3 more. Alright, and now we are going to be done with the temple. Okay, Rhyntar can still carry all that stuff. And now, since we are going to teleport back to Pomab once again, let's also take a look at that supply list that Hrothgar gave us to deliver to Pomab with some different types of items that we are going to need. But the message here is pretty interesting. Pomab, seeing as you have seen fit to volunteer to outfit our expedition to Kuldahar, I have written down a list of items we will be needing. I trust the equipment you will provide will be of quality, unlike the shoddy junk you foisted off on my last expedition. So, good old Pomab, apparently doing everything he can to earn his bad reputation here in these parts. Pomab, my good man, I feel a palpable sense of evil emanating from you. Can't put my finger on it, but there's something suspicious about him. Anyway, let's deliver those this list. Very well, give it here. Now be on your way. The expedition will be departing shortly. It would be a shame if they left without you. I wonder if this message has some kind of deeper meaning here. Anyway, we get another 1200 experience for this heroic deed. And you know what, Pomab? I think we are going to buy some more stuff from you. Let's replenish our dart supplies here. They have been serving us well so far, and they are of course a far more affordable option when it comes to throwing weapons, so we are going to stick with darts for a little while longer. We can resupply Rhyntar here, and maybe give one more stack to Nadimastria, and the rest will go to Asathi. Alright, now we are going to rest before the journey. We shall now reload our spells that I have already switched some of our selections. Maybe if you'd like to take a look, here we're going to have something different. This is not a heal, by the way, on Galburin. Something more extravagant, something different we're going to try to present. Yeah, Entacle is going to make a little bit of a return, but Sun Scorches are going to be the main dish, and then we have some sleeps and color sprays all the way. Alright, now let us rent a room once again and prepare ourselves mentally for the journey. Oh, it is actually night time. I guess at the brink of dawn we shall, or break of dawn, we shall embark. And the expedition will finally set for its goal, Kuldahar.
Agreed. There you are. All is set. The others are assembling as we speak. Are you ready to leave as well?
And you can of course wait, but we are ready. Let us be off. The adventurers here at this point don't realize what they are getting themselves into, as this adventure will be much more than they bargained for. But yes, with a heavy heart we shall depart. We have gathered our party. Let us venture forth.
So it was that the Patchwork Militia set off from Easthaven, bound for the troubled village of Kuldahar, with the party of strangers in tow. On they traveled, across the windswept tundra of the Dale, through the foothills of the spine of the world, and upwards on the steep and treacherous trails of the Kuldahar Pass. Eager to seek out the evil that threatened the pass, they did not expect it to find them first. High upon the cliffs of the pass, a band of frost giants had prepared an ambush. Hurling boulders and dislodging massive outcroppings of rock and snow, the giants sparked an avalanche that thundered down the mountainside and crashed down upon the heads of the unsuspecting expedition. Those fortunate enough to survive the avalanche pulled themselves free of the mountain of snow and bodies that now barred the way back to Easthaven. Battered and disheartened by the loss of their comrades, the survivors had little choice but to continue on to Kuldahar, alone.
Alone. Anyway, here comes a hermit. He's basically a device to better understand the aftermath of the avalanche and to explain the situation we are in. Merciful gods, you're lucky to be alive. Are you alright? Anything broken? You seem to be in one piece. Who are you? I'm just an aging soul who prefers the solitude of these mountains to the hustle and bustle of town life. I tell you, I lived in this pass for years, and I've never seen anything like what just happened. You witnessed the avalanche? Yep, I saw the whole thing. I was sleeping in my cave over yonder when I felt the ground begin to shake and heard a rumble something fierce. I stumbled outside just in time to see the avalanche come crashing down. It's a good thing you ran forward instead of back into the pass like the others. Poor bastards. One thing's for sure, I'm not digging their bodies out from under there. They'll have to wait till the snows melt to receive a proper burial. We're touched by your concern for our fallen comrades. Do you by chance know the way to Kuldahar? Why would you want to go to that miserable little burg? Nothing there but a big tree and a bunch of shacks and lean-tos. It's an eyesore, if you ask me. will be kind of reluctant to point the way to Kuldahar. Maybe he's just a reclusive misanthrope, but maybe he has some ulterior motives for that. We shall discuss that in a little bit. There has been word that some sort of trouble has befallen the town. We've come to lend whatever aid we can. A fool's errand. You'd be better off worrying about yourselves and leaving the townsfolk to deal with their own problems. Alright, thanks for the advice, but, I didn't exactly ask your opinion. Do you know the way or not? I suppose it wouldn't hurt to point you in the right direction. Follow this trail east through the valley. Kuldahar lies just beyond the old mill. But you'd do well to keep your guard up. There are goblins everywhere between here and town. Filthy little buggers. Ever since them townsfolk abandoned their farmsteads, they've been crawling all over the valley like they own the place. Alright, thanks for your help. So yeah, this seems to be the cave this hermit makes his residence in. But now, we have to address something. As the only survivors, we have to stop for a moment and mourn the loss of our companions. Hrothgar, Acalia, Hildreth, and many others are now buried underneath the snow and rubble. The expedition ends before it really started. Despite this setback, however, Rhyntar will rally our group, saying that we have to battle the growing feelings of sadness and despair and find the strength within us to carry on. We must honor the sacrifice of our brothers and sisters from Easthaven by continuing the mission we pledged ourselves to undertake. The spirit of the expedition lives on in our hearts, and thus we shall discover those responsible for this tragedy and avenge the brave souls that ended their journey today. May Tyr witness this injustice and steel our resolve to deliver judgment and punishment where it is due. So, yeah, this will give our party members a bit of newfound hope, allowing them to shake off those dire circumstances and think clearly about the events that transpired. Because, yes, those giant footprint sightings we heard about in Easthaven have proven to be true. We were ambushed by powerful foes, and it does not bode well. We know not the evil forces arrayed against us, or who their wicked masters are, but we vow to challenge them without fear. And looking behind us, okay, we can see the description at least in the info box down there. But yes, looking behind us, there is only a blockade created by the avalanche, serving as a grim reminder that we had crossed the Rubicon, and there is no going back in every sense, both literally and figuratively. The only way now is onwards. And that way we shall go in the next episode. But yes, one more thing about this hermit. There's quite a bit more to him, potentially. But we will have to return to some juicy speculations and theories about him, being much more than what is revealed here, a lot later. Because there are a few cool things to consider, but we have to progress the main storyline far enough to be able to speak about it openly without any spoilers. But yeah, cool surprises to discuss in due time. But yes, now we have to prepare for the perilous journey through this valley, but that is going to happen in the next episode. For now, I thank you for watching, and I will see you next time.